What is going on, college basketball fans? Welcome back to another video, and today we got the week 1 Dannyology Power 35 rankings, and it was an amazing week 1. Only got me that much more hype for the rest of the college basketball season, and we are going to have these coming out every single Monday for the rest of the season. So make sure you guys are subscribed if you guys have not already, because not only will we be having these every single week, but a bunch more college basketball content as well. So subscribe if you guys are new, hit that like button if you guys enjoy, and let's get into these rankings. All right, guys, so here it is, giving it to you all at once. The week 1 Dannyology Power 35, and a lot of changes from week 0. A lot of teams on here that weren't on here in week 0. A lot of teams making big jumps, big falls, but here we are. Let's break it down. And maybe one of the biggest changes on here is the Auburn Tigers getting the number 1 spot. And how about Tahad Pettiford? He was going berserk in the Houston game, drilling like 5 or 6 threes, over 20 points as a freshman. This guy is a beast. They also got Miles Kelly, who is an amazing three-point shooter. Didn't really quite get going against Houston, but in their first game, he was lighting it up. And Janai Broome down low. JP Peggs, who hasn't even been that much of a difference maker for this Auburn team so far. I thought he was going to be a star heading into this year, but he hasn't even really had that much production so far, but I expect him to turn up. Denver Jones. This Auburn team got guards out the ass. Like, let's be honest, they look amazing. And that win against Houston, even with their plane altercation, which was, I guess, a physical fight on the airplane on the way to Houston, those two players did not travel with the team. Seemed like no big deal as Auburn defeats Houston. And yeah, that's the best win of the season so far. Auburn is my number 1 team heading into week 2. My number 2 team is actually the UConn Huskies. I think I seen a stat earlier through their first games. 46 of their 63, and it's around that number, of their made field goals were assisted. That is amazing ball movement. And yes, they are replacing 4 of their starters from last year's national championship team, but what doesn't change is Dan Hurley, who is the best coach in college basketball, and this awesome offensive scheme that he has put into place with this UConn Husky team, and they're the number 2 team in the country. They look awesome. Kansas, number 3. They looked really, really good, and they were probably going to stay my number 1 team after the first half of the North Carolina game. They looked like the number 1 team. In the second half, their defense looked a little bit shaky. Offensively, they still looked good. Their front court was a big problem for North Carolina. I think it's going to be a big problem for a lot of teams. And they have a ton of guards and a lot of great depth. So I still think that they are one of the best teams in the country, but their defense a little shaky in that second half against UNC. Number 4, we do have Alabama. Alabama did struggle a little bit keeping it close in one of their games. No big deal, though. They got a big stretch coming up. They got McNeese State tonight. Definitely going to be keeping my eye out on that one and watching that game. And they got a big stretch of a lot of good opponents. So we are going to find out about Alabama really quick, but I still definitely believe they are one of the most talented rosters in the entire country. Gonzaga, number 5. They got one of the better wins of the season as well, where they absolutely hosed Baylor by almost 40 points, or it might have been, I think it was above 30 points. Looked amazing. Was a little bit closer in their second game, a little bit shaky there, but they ended up getting the job done. And I think the big difference maker is going to be Khalif Battle on this Gonzaga team. He looks like he's going to be their big X factor, and so far he's delivered. Number 6, we do have Iowa State. Iowa State, kind of staying around that top 5 range here at number 6. Haven't played anybody too good yet, but I still believe they are one of the better teams in the country. They're coming in at number 6, and kind of the same thing here for number 7 with Duke. Duke hasn't really played anybody that great, but they've looked pretty good so far, and their freshmen look good. Tomorrow they play in the Champions Classic against Kentucky. That's going to be an awesome game. I cannot wait for it. That's going to be Duke's first real test. North Carolina at number 8. I decided, honestly, they might even be a spot or 2 higher than what they were in week 0. That second half of the Kansas game, playing in maybe the toughest environment in all of college basketball, at Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse. That is a very tough thing to do, and whenever you're down at halftime, you come out of the half and you make the comeback, you take leads, you find a way to get back into the game, and they honestly had opportunities to win that game for sure. North Carolina has a ton of really good guards. Their front court has some question marks, but their guards are amazing. RJ Davis, Elliot Kadu, Ian Jackson is another very good freshman guard. Seth Trimble, they look great. North Carolina going to be a problem this year with all those guards. Houston, number 9. They're dropping after that loss to Auburn. I still think they are a really good team, a top 10 team 100%. Amazing defense, as they always do have. Looked really good. I do think that they are going to struggle with that replacement of Jamal Shed, but overall looking pretty good still. Even with the loss to Auburn, it was a close game. Number 10, Ohio State. I think a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me on this one and think Ohio State might be a little bit too high, but they have an amazing win against Texas and a lot of really good players and a lot of freshmen being more impactful than we might have thought they would be, including John Mobley Jr. I think Ohio State has looked amazing so far and looked just as good as any other Big Ten team in the country, which we are about to talk about two more. At number 11 and number 12, we do have Indiana and Purdue. Neither of these teams really played anybody that great so far. Purdue does play Yale tonight, which is going to be a pretty good game. I will be keeping my eye out on that one. But Purdue, Indiana, Ohio State, I think that these three are the top 3 in the race for the Big Ten Conference, and I think the next tier is Oregon and Illinois are my sleepers for the Big Ten Conference. But I think Indiana, Purdue, Ohio State all look pretty good so far, and I think those are going to be your top 3 teams in the Big Ten, unless Oregon or Illinois has something to say about that. Number 13, we do have the Baylor Bears. I did drop them outside of my top 10 after they got waxed by Gonzaga, like really bad. And you guys know how high I was on the Baylor Bears. I had them as my preseason national champion actually this season, which isn't looking so good so far, but they did bounce back with a win against Arkansas, where some of their freshmen, were starting to play a little bit better. VJ Edgecombe still hasn't been able to get that shot done to knock down, but his athleticism is definitely elite. Their other freshman, Rob Wright, looked really good in the Arkansas game, like really good. So I was impressed there. If VJ Edgecombe can get on track, they get Jeremy Roach. They're going to have a ton of guards, and I think Norchad Omier is a really good center in the country this year and a really good rebounder. So I think Baylor is going to bounce back like they did against Arkansas and have a really good year. Are they still my national champion pick at this point? Probably not, but I do think it is still possible. Number 14, we have Arizona, and Arizona hasn't played anybody too great so far, but they have looked pretty good, and I'm excited to continue to watch them play and learn more about this team. Number 15, we do have Tennessee. Tennessee got a good win on the road at Louisville, where they beat Louisville up bad. I honestly thought Louisville was going to keep that a little bit closer with Tennessee, but Tennessee just always proves with Rick Barnes that they are going to continue to be competitive in the SEC. Number 16, we do have Arkansas. They did lose to Baylor, which is why I got them a little bit lower than them. But they didn't look bad, Shooting-wise, they did not look great. They need to work on their three-point shooting. Baylor played the 2-3 zone against them and really forced them to try to make some threes, and they were unable to do so. But they got some elite athletes on this team, including, I believe his name is Thero, last name Thero, the big man on Arkansas. Starting to learn some of these younger players' names, but he looks really good, and I think he's going to be a force in the SEC. Xavier at 17. Xavier's looked really good. They are a deep team. I think they're the second best team in the Big East Conference. Looking pretty good so far. They're at 17. Cincinnati at 18. They've looked really good, on track for what I expected for them this year. I expected them to be a top 20 team, and they are looking like it so far. Number 19, we do have Marquette. And Marquette, Cam Jones, I'm so happy that he is living up to expectations and dropping over 25 a game. That is what I was expecting from him. I mean, he was doing it on the tail end of last year, and now without Tyler Kolek, he's only going to get the ball even more. And Yeah, he has looked amazing so far, but overall, as a whole, this Marquette team looks really good. Central Florida at number 20. This is one of the teams that, actually, the first team that we talked about so far that was not in my week 0 preseason Daniology poll, and they clock in here at number 20. They got a big win over Texas A&M, and Texas A&M, I still think it's a pretty good team. I just think Central Florida is that good. They got a lot of really good guards. They got a freshman center who is playing outstanding, averaging 3.5 blocks per game. Central Florida looks really good, and just another one of those teams that we are going to have to look out for in the Big 12. Florida at number 21. A little bit of controversy going on around Florida Gators with Todd Golden, saying that he's a stalker. So we'll see. He's still coaching games. The athletic director or someone came out and said he's still going to coach games until he's actually proven guilty. I might joke around, still call him a stalker, but I like Todd Golden, and unless he is a stalker, then I don't like him. But, that came out, but Florida as a team, if you look away from, the drama and what hopefully is a rumor, they've looked really good as a team, and Walter Clayton especially has looked really good. So Florida, 21, looking really good. 22, we got New Mexico Lobos. They beat UCLA and looked really good doing it. Honestly, they controlled that entire game. Donovan Dent is one of my favorite players to watch in the entire country. They lost a lot, including Mashburn and JT Toppin from last year. And really, Donovan Dent has been their guy. He's looked amazing, and New Mexico is in the top 25 here at number 22. Number 23, how about the North Florida Ospreys? 3-0, including wins over South Carolina and Georgia Tech. North Florida is a force and definitely a mid-major we need to keep our eyes out on, and they're coming in here at number 23. Number 24, and by the way, I hope North Florida is ranked in the AP poll. I'm recording this just before, a couple hours before the AP poll does drop on Monday, so I'm really hoping North Florida does get in. I don't think they will, but they are in mine here at number 23. Number 24, we do have Wake Forest getting a big win over Michigan, and yeah, they look really good. Hunter Salas is a very underrated guard in college basketball. Overall, looking pretty good. They got Reed down low. Was able to play really good defensively against Michigan's front court of Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden. And Wake Forest looks pretty good so far. They're here at number 24. Number 25, we do have Kentucky. And Kentucky, like I said, they similar to Duke, they have not played anybody that great yet, but they've been hosing teams, and their ball movement looks really good under Mark Pope. So we'll see if they can keep that up. And they do play Duke tomorrow. That's going to be their first real test. I'm excited to see it. Mark Pope's first real test as Kentucky's head coach. Number 26, we do have the Creighton Blue Jays. Creighton looks pretty good. Ryan Cockbrenner, the big cock, he has been on a tear, and he dropped 49, I believe, in their first game. Yeah, look out for the cock, man. He is a stud, but they also got shooters outside, Pop Isaacs and Stephen Ashworth. Creighton's going to be pretty good still once again this year. Going from Dana Alton's old team to Dayton Alton's current team that he coaches, the Oregon Ducks. I really do think that Oregon is my biggest sleeper in the Big Ten Conference this year. I think that they got a lot of really talented players on this team, and it would not be a surprise to me if they sneak their way into March and make a run this year. Number 28, we do have St. John's. St. John's looking pretty good so far, looking for their first real test of the season still. But overall, yes, they're looking very good. Devion Smith and Kadari Richmond, a very good backcourt. Texas at 29. Yes, they did lose to Ohio State. But how about Trey Johnson? Super good freshman. If you haven't seen what he has been doing so far in his first 2 games as the Texas Longhorn, as a true freshman, look at Trey Johnson, because definitely look him up, because he is a fantastic player, and he is knocking down his 3. He is great athlete. Overall, excellent player. He is going to be a top 10 NBA draft pick. Number 30, we do have Illinois. And not to mention Texas, I believe Tremont Mark is injured. 15-point per game scorer for Arkansas last year. They get Tremont Mark back. Trey Johnson's still on the tear. Texas could be dangerous in the SEC. Number 30, we do have Illinois. In Illinois, I do think that they can climb these rankings. They are, I'm kind of iffy on them in the Big Ten. I'm unsure what to expect from them this year. I'm thinking it's going to be around the 20 to 30 range ranking-wise. We'll see, if they can do better than that. But I got them at number 30 so far. Number 31, we do have Texas Tech. JT Toppin has looked awesome for them so far. And overall, I think Texas Tech definitely a really good team and a sleeper in the Big 12. Number 32, we do have Clemson. I feel like people are riding them off a little bit because they lost P.J. Hall to the NBA from last year after that Sweet 16 run. But I'm not writing them off just yet. I think that they are going to be a contender in the ACC. Other than Duke and North Carolina, next up for me is Wake Forest and Clemson and probably Miami. I mean, I think that Clemson especially has a chance to be competitive in the ACC this year, and I'm not sure how many bids are going to get in from the ACC, but I want to expect it to be more than like 4 to March Madness. But I think Clemson could be one of those teams. Next up, we do have BYU, and BYU's looked really awesome so far. Their true freshman Igor Demin has been a beast, a playmaking machine. Very excited for them, and overall, their team just looking really good so far. Another team with some talented freshmen, Rutgers. Rutgers coming in here at number 34. I'm excited to see really these rankings as a whole, when they start playing each other and playing some better teams. It's going to make these rankings a lot more interesting, but I feel like Rutgers definitely deserves to be here right now. And then we got Memphis at number 35. PJ Haggerty has done exactly what we expected from him this season under Penny Hardaway, has been an awesome point guard, and overall Memphis looking really good so far. My teams to watch, just on the outside, we do have Maryland. Maryland's playing really good. Another team with a really good freshman in Derek White, and they also got Jacoby Gillespie, and some really good players there on that Maryland team. I think they should probably make March Madness this year. Texas A&M, even though they lost to Central Florida, I still think they're a really good team. They can definitely get back into these rankings next week with a couple of good wins. UCLA, same thing. They lost to New Mexico. I don't think that's a horrible loss, even though it was on a neutral site. But I do think UCLA is a team that could get back into the rankings. Kansas State is another team I think could get into these rankings. They got a very big team, a lot of size, and then an undersized point guard in Doug McDaniel that I think is going to be very good for them this season. VCU's picked up a couple of good wins. I think they are going to be a force in the A10. I think in the A10 it's them and Dayton. VCU and Dayton. I mean, the A10 always sends us for a ride with who is going to get that bid. Is it possible it could be a 2-bid league? Yeah, it definitely is. The A10 always has the possibility of being a 2-bid league, but VCU looks really good so far. They're on my teams to watch. Mississippi State. You guys know I'm a big Josh Hubbard fan. I think he's an awesome player, and he's only going to be a true sophomore this year. Very excited for the backcourt of him and Kanye Clary. And excited to see them. I also am a big fan of Chris Jans as a head coach. I think Mississippi State, a lot of people are sleeping on them this year. I think they're going to be in a March Madness. San Francisco got a big-time win at home against Boise State the other night. I was up watching that game. Actually, I think I was flipping between that and Houston and Auburn. But San Francisco looked actually pretty good, so they are on my teams to watch. And I actually really liked Boise as one of my favorites in the Mountain West. So to see San Francisco be able to knock them off was very impressive. Miami, a lot of really good guards once again, even though they are losing Wooga Poplar to Villanova, and I believe they lost another guard as well, Bensley Joseph. I think he went to the Big East as well. I want to say Providence. But they still got Nigel Pack. They still got Matt Cleveland. They got a couple of new guards that I'm still learning their names. But Miami not looking too bad so far. And then Grand Canyon. Buzzer beater win this week for Grand Canyon. And wow, what a win it was. Buzzer beater win over, I think, Western Kentucky. And 2-0 so far. I expect big things from Grand Canyon this year, and they're on my teams to watch. So let me know what you guys think about the rankings this week, guys, and comment down below who you would have higher, who would you have lower. who got snubbed. And yeah, guys, we will be back with the updated rankings next Monday. But we will definitely have some more college basketball content out before that. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.